The Galactic Council chamber was a huge, round room filled with voices shouting in many languages. Alien leaders ran to and fro, their faces full of fear and anger. For the first time in 2,000 years, peace was breaking apart. The threat from the Zaphirian Empire had shaken them all. Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the edge of the room, watching the chaos. He could feel the weight of thousands of eyes on him. The Council of Elders, the oldest and wisest rulers in the galaxy, tried to calm everyone. But even they looked worried. Elder Zoroth, a tall being with silver skin and glowing eyes, raised his hands for silence. His voice shook as he spoke. We face a terrible enemy. The Zaphirian Empire commands 300 warships. We cannot fight them with our small fleets. We must find a way to survive, the alien ambassadors whispered among themselves. Many said it was better to surrender now, to save their people from destruction. The galaxy had been peaceful for so long. War was almost forgotten. But now the old rules no longer worked. Jake listened carefully. He saw fear in their eyes. Fear of the unknown. Fear of losing everything. But Jake felt something different. He felt anger. Anger at the Zaphirians who wanted to force their rule on everyone. Anger at the Council for wanting to give up so quickly. Do you truly believe surrender is the only choice? Jake's voice was calm but firm as he stepped forward. The room grew quiet again. Elder Zoroth looked at him. Humanity is young, Admiral. You have not lived through the centuries of wars we have. We know what it means to lose. Fighting the Zaphirians would bring only death. Jake shook his head. Maybe the galaxy has forgotten how to fight. But humans remember. We did not survive by surrendering. We survived by standing tall against impossible odds. Lieutenant Amy Brooks stood beside Jake. She was young, but brave and sharp. She whispered, Sir, their fleet is huge. We have fewer ships, and they are made for war. Jake nodded. We may be few, but we are not weak. The Zaphirians think peace made us soft. They are wrong. Suddenly, a voice interrupted the council. A messenger ran in with a datapad. Admiral, we have intercepted a secret transmission from the Zaphirians. Jake took the device and read the message. His face grew darker. The message was a warning. The Zaphirians had not returned just to conquer. They carried a terrible secret, something hidden for 2,000 years. Something that could destroy entire worlds. The council gasped. What is it? One ambassador asked. Jake hesitated. It says they possess a weapon from ancient times, a weapon that can wipe out whole planets. The room fell into stunned silence. The peaceful galaxy suddenly felt very fragile. Ambassador Kellen of the Real Union slammed his fist on the table. How can we fight such power? We should surrender before it is too late. General Vex of the Alter Defense Force stood tall. We must fight. Even if we are small, we must try. Our fleets may be small, but our will is strong. But what can we do? Another voice asked. Our ships are for trade and peace, not war. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was scared. Even the strongest leaders seemed uncertain. Suddenly, Amy's voice broke through the doubt. Sir, sensors show more Zaphirian ships arriving. They are surrounding every major world. They are cutting off trade routes. They wait for our answer. Jake clenched his fists. The Zaphirians want us to give up, but humans don't give up. We fight, or we die trying. Some aliens nodded slowly. Others shook their heads in fear. The council was divided, torn between hope and fear. Hours passed. Reports came from across the galaxy. One by one, alien races sent messages of surrender. The Centauri Republic, the Vegan Confederacy, the Real Union, all bowed before the Zaphirian might. Only humanity refused. Jake stood before the council again. This time, the chamber was nearly empty. Most ambassadors had left to prepare for surrender. Only a few remained to hear humanity's decision. Elder Zoroth looked at Jake with tired eyes. Admiral Morrison, humanity must surrender. You cannot stand alone against such power. Jake met the elder's gaze. Humanity thanks the council for their concern. Then you will surrender with us. He paused, and his voice grew stronger. No. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Amy stepped forward, her eyes bright. We will fight. Outside the chamber, the huge space station pulsed with nervous energy. The galaxy held its breath. The Council's collapse was complete. The old peace was gone. The war was coming, but humans would face it with a smile and a fierce heart. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with noise and confusion. Alien leaders from many different races shouted and argued in dozens of languages. For the first time in 2,000 years, the calm peace was breaking apart. Admiral Jake Morrison stood quietly at the edge of the room. He watched the chaos with steady eyes. The Council of Elders, old and wise rulers who had kept the galaxy peaceful for centuries, tried to calm the crowd, but even they looked afraid. Elder Zoroth, a tall figure with glowing silver skin, raised his hands. His voice trembled. As he spoke, "We face a terrible threat. The Zaphirian Empire comes with 300 warships. Our small fleets cannot stop them. We must find a way to survive." The aliens whispered anxiously. Many wanted to surrender, hoping to save their people from death. The galaxy had been peaceful for so long that war seemed impossible now. But the Zaphirians had shattered that peace. Jake felt a fire burning inside him. Fear filled the room, but for him, there was anger. Anger at the invaders. Anger at the Council for thinking surrender was the only way. He stepped forward and spoke clearly. "Do you truly believe surrender is our only choice?" The room quieted down. Elder Zoroth looked at him with tired eyes. "Humans are young, Admiral. You don't know the long history of war we have lived through. Fighting the Zaphirians means death for many." Jake shook his head. "Maybe the galaxy has forgotten how to fight, but humans remember. We survived by standing strong, even when the odds were against us." Lieutenant Amy Brooks, young and brave, whispered beside him. "Sir, their fleet is huge. Our ships are few and built for peace, not war." Jake nodded. "We may be few, but we are not weak. The Zaphirians think peace made us soft. They are wrong." Suddenly a messenger rushed in with a datapad. "Admiral, we intercepted a secret Zaphirian message." Jake read it quickly. His face darkened. The message spoke of a terrible weapon, hidden for 2,000 years, that could destroy whole planets. A hush fell over the room. "What weapon?" an ambassador asked. Jake answered, "An ancient weapon from the old wars. The Zaphirians have it, and they threaten to use it." The peaceful galaxy suddenly felt fragile and small. Ambassador Kellen slammed his fist. "We cannot fight this. We must surrender now." General Vex stood tall. "We must try to fight. Our fleets are small, but our will is strong." "But what can we do?" someone asked. "Our ships are for trade and peace, not war." Jake looked at the faces around him. Fear was everywhere, even in the strongest leaders. Amy spoke up. "Sir, more Zaphirian ships are arriving. They surround the major worlds and block trade routes. They wait for our answer." Jake clenched his fists. "They want us to give up, but humans don't give up. We fight, or we die trying." Some aliens nodded slowly. Others shook their heads in fear. The Council was breaking apart. Hours passed. Messages from across the galaxy came in. One by one, alien races sent surrender. Messages. The Centauri Republic, the Vegan Confederacy, the Riel Union, all gave in. Only humanity stood firm. Jake stood again before the Council. This time the chamber was nearly empty. Most had left to prepare for surrender. Only a few remained. Elder Zoroth looked tired. "Admiral Morrison, humanity cannot stand alone. You must surrender." Jake met his gaze. "Thank you for your concern. Then you will surrender with us." He paused, his voice strong. "No." The word hung heavy in the silent room. Amy stepped forward, her eyes shining. "We will fight." Outside the chamber, the space station pulsed with tension. The galaxy waited. The Council had collapsed. The old peace was gone. War was coming, but humans would face it with courage and a smile. The dark shapes of the Zaphirian warships hung like shadows at the edge of the system. Their long, sharp forms blocked out the stars, making the sky seem colder and emptier. On the human ship Aurora, Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the command window, watching silently. The silence was broken by a sudden alarm. Red lights flashed across the control panels. The Zaphirians were moving. Lieutenant Amy Brooks shouted, "Sir, they are launching attack fighters!" Jake's heart pounded. The peaceful galaxy had shattered, and now the first battle was about to begin. The small human ships scrambled to their battle stations, but they were no match for the sudden wave of enemy fighters. The fighters swarmed the Aurora, shooting bright beams of light that cut through the darkness of space. The human ship shook under the impact. Crew members shouted orders and worked quickly to keep the ship alive. Jake gritted his teeth. "Return fire! Don't let them break through!" Amy's voice was calm but urgent. "Shields are holding, but not for long." Suddenly, a blast hit. The Aurora's engine. The ship lurched violently. "We're losing power!" Amy cried. Jake clenched his fists. "Keep fighting! We won't surrender!" The battle was fierce. Human ships darted through space, small but fast. The Zaphirians had numbers and firepower, but humans had something else: determination. In the chaos, Jake remembered his grandfather's words. "Humans fight with their hearts. We survive because we never give up." The Aurora's weapons fired back, cutting through the enemy fighters. One by one, the attackers fell, but more came. Then a sudden explosion rocked the Aurora. The bridge shook violently. Smoke filled the room. Jake coughed but stood firm. "Damage report!" Amy's voice was weak. "Engine critical, sir. We can't hold much longer." Jake looked at the glowing stars outside the window. This was just the beginning. The Zaphirians wanted to break humanity's spirit, but they would find something stronger. The captain's voice came over the comm. "Admiral, orders from Earth. Prepare to retreat and regroup." Jake hesitated. Retreat? It was not the human way. But sometimes, retreat was the first step to winning. "Prepare for retreat," Jake ordered, his voice steady but filled with fire. "We will live to fight another day." As the Aurora pulled away, the Zaphirian fleet advanced. The battle was lost, but the war had only begun. In the quiet that followed, Jake looked at his crew. They were tired, scared, but still ready. Humans had faced extinction before. They would face it again. And this time, they would win. The Aurora drifted back into the safe zone near Earth's orbit. The crew was tired and injured, but their spirit was far from broken. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, staring at the starry sky and thinking hard. The peaceful days were gone. The Zaphirian Empire had shown its true face, strong, ruthless, and ready to destroy anyone who resisted. But humans were not ready to give up. Not now. Not ever. On Earth, the news of the attack spread like wildfire. People from every nation gathered, watching the glowing screens, their faces full of fear and anger. The 2,000 years of peace were over. The war had come back. Jake was called to a high-security meeting with Earth's leaders. The room was tense, filled with people who had the power to decide the future of humanity. Scientists, generals, politicians. They all looked at Jake, hoping for answers. "We cannot fight like before," Jake said quietly. "Our fleet is small, and the enemy is powerful. But humans have one advantage: they never stop fighting. We will need to be smart, fast, and united." A scientist named Dr. Lena Moreno spoke up. "We have been working on new technology, secret projects that can change the tide of this war. Weapons that use old Earth knowledge mixed with new alien science." Jake nodded. "Good. We need every weapon, every ship, every soldier ready. The Zaphirians want us to surrender. But they don't know humans. We will find a way to fight back." Back. On the Aurora, Amy Brooks trained the crew. She was young, but fearless. "We may be smaller, but we are faster. We know our home. We will use every trick, every surprise, to win." The crew practiced day and night. Engineers fixed damaged ships, pilots learned new maneuvers, and soldiers prepared for battle. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with hope. Hope that humans could rise again. Meanwhile, Strange news came from the outer colonies. Some humans had found ancient technology buried deep under old Earth ruins on distant planets, machines that hummed with power, weapons forgotten by time. Jake felt a spark in his chest. Maybe the old stories his grandfather told were true. Maybe humans had a secret strength waiting to be awakened. The Galactic Council was falling apart. The oldest races surrendered quickly, scared and broken, but humanity stood firm, refusing to bow. This war will test us, Jake thought. It will show what it really means to be human. As the council collapsed, humans prepared for the fight of their lives. The war was no longer about peace. It was about survival, and about proving to the galaxy that humans were not weak. The Aurora drifted back into the safe zone near Earth's orbit. The crew was tired and injured, but their spirit was far from broken. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge, staring at the starry sky and thinking hard. The peaceful days were gone. The Zaphirian Empire had shown its true face, strong, ruthless, and ready to destroy anyone who resisted. But humans were not ready to give up. Not now. Not ever. On Earth, the news of the attack spread like wildfire. People from every nation gathered, watching the glowing screens, their faces full of fear and anger. The 2,000 years of peace were over. The war had come back. Jake was called to a high-security meeting with Earth's leaders. The room was tense, filled with people who had the power to decide the future of humanity. Scientists, generals, politicians. They all looked at Jake, hoping for answers. "We cannot fight like before," Jake said quietly. "Our fleet is small, and the enemy is powerful. But humans have one advantage. They never stop fighting. We will need to be smart, fast, and united." A scientist named Dr. Lena Moreno spoke up. "We have been working on new technology, secret projects that can change the tide of this war. Weapons that use old Earth knowledge mixed with new alien science." Jake nodded. "Good. We need every weapon, every ship, every soldier ready. The Zaphirians want us to surrender. But they don't know humans. We will find a way to fight back." Back. On the Aurora, Amy Brooks trained the crew. She was young, but fearless. "We may be smaller, but we are faster. We know our home. We will use every trick, every surprise, to win." The crew practiced day and night. Engineers fixed damaged ships, pilots learned new maneuvers, and soldiers prepared for battle. Fear was still there, but it was mixed with hope. Hope that humans could rise again. Meanwhile, strange news came from the outer colonies. Some humans had found ancient technology buried deep under old Earth ruins on distant planets. Machines that hummed with power, weapons forgotten by time. Jake felt a spark in his chest. Maybe the old stories his grandfather told were true. Maybe humans had a secret strength waiting to be awakened. The Galactic Council was falling apart. The oldest races surrendered quickly, scared and broken. But humanity stood firm, refusing to bow. This war will test us, Jake thought. It will show what it really means to be human. As the council collapsed, humans prepared for the fight of their lives. The war was no longer about peace. It was about survival, and about proving to the galaxy that humans were not weak. The quiet calm of space was gone. Dark warships hung like shadows near human colonies. The Zaphirian Empire's presence was a heavy weight on every planet, every station. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the deck of the Aurora, watching the stars, through the thick glass. His mind raced. The war had begun, but it was not just a battle of ships and weapons. It was a battle of secrets, lies, and hidden dangers. Reports came in from distant outposts. Some colonies were attacked quietly, ships disappearing without a trace. Others sent desperate calls for help, then went silent. The enemy was clever. They did not just fight with lasers and missiles. They fought with fear. Jake called a meeting with his closest officers. Amy Brooks was there, her eyes sharp and determined. "We need spies," Jake said. "People who can move without being seen. We need to know the enemy's plans before they strike." Amy nodded. "We have some agents working in the shadows already. But the Zaphirians are watching. Everything. We must be careful. The crew began training in secret missions. Stealth, sabotage, and intelligence became their new weapons. Jake knew the future would depend on what they learned behind enemy lines. Meanwhile, strange things happened aboard the Aurora. Machines blinked on and off by themselves. Strange messages appeared on the screens. Words in a language no one understood. Amy studied the messages late into the night. "It's like the ship is trying to tell us something," she said, her voice low. "Maybe old technology is waking up." Jake remembered the ancient machines discovered on distant planets. Could there be a link? He wondered if the secret of human survival was hidden in those forgotten devices. Then came a shocking message from a deep space probe. It had found something near the edge of the galaxy. A forgotten human outpost, lost for centuries. The message was simple but clear. "We are still here." The news spread fast. Some believed it was a trick, but Jake felt a chill. If true, it meant there were humans out there, waiting and watching. The Council was falling apart faster than anyone expected. Some races betrayed others, trying to make deals with the Zaphirians. Trust vanished, and old alliances broke. But humans stayed, united. They knew the fight was bigger than politics. It was about survival, about holding on to hope when everything seemed lost. Jake looked at his crew and saw something new. A quiet fire. They were scared, yes, but they were ready to face the darkness. The war was no longer just a battle of power. It was a test of spirit, and humans were not ready to lose. The galaxy watched in silence as the Zaphirian Empire's shadow spread. One by one, the great alien civilizations surrendered, bowing to the overwhelming force. But humanity stayed silent. On board the Aurora, Admiral Jake Morrison paced the command deck. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on him. Around him, the crew worked quietly, knowing something was coming, something the galaxy did not expect. Amy Brooks approached, holding a small, encrypted message. "Sir, we received a transmission from an unknown source. It's from deep inside human space, from the so-called Hidden Fleet." Jake's eyes narrowed. The Hidden Fleet was a legend, a secret force of human ships kept in the shadows for centuries. Officially, it did not exist. The Council had erased all records, afraid of what humanity might do if fully armed. But now, with the Zaphirian threat looming, the Hidden Fleet was humanity's last hope. Jake activated the transmission. A strong, determined voice filled the room. "This is Commander Lana Reyes. The Hidden Fleet stands ready. We will not surrender. We fight for Earth, for humanity, and for freedom." The crew exchanged looks. For years, humans had lived quietly, building alliances, exploring space peacefully. But beneath that calm, a storm had been growing. Jake felt a surge of pride. The Hidden Fleet was more than ships. It was a symbol of human will and spirit. While the rest of the galaxy gave in, humans prepared for war. But the Zaphirians knew about the fleet. They sent spies and saboteurs, trying to destroy the secret before it could act. One night, alarms blared through the Aurora. Amy rushed to Jake's side. "Saboteurs on board, sir. They've breached the lower decks." Chaos erupted. The crew fought fiercely to stop the invaders. The saboteurs moved fast, aiming for the ship's core systems. Jake grabbed his rifle and joined the battle. The corridors were tight and dark, shadows hiding enemies who wanted to end humanity's last hope. Amy covered Jake as he cleared rooms, their breaths heavy with adrenaline. Every second counted. Finally, the last saboteur fell. But the damage was done. Some systems were offline, and repairs would take time. Jake looked out at the stars again. The war was closer than ever. The Hidden Fleet was awake. But could it fight the storm coming? He turned to Amy. "We have to warn the fleet. We're the last line of defense now." Amy nodded. "And we won't let them down." The future was uncertain. But one thing was clear. Humanity was ready to fight, no matter the cost. The time had come. The Hidden Fleet gathered in the dark reaches of space, far from prying eyes. Hundreds of human ships, armed and ready, formed a strong wall of light against the dark void. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Aurora, his heart pounding. Around him, his crew prepared for the fight that would decide humanity's fate. The Zaphirian Empire's warships approached, their black forms swallowing the stars. Their silence was heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Jake's voice was steady as he spoke to the fleet. We are not just fighting for ourselves. We fight for every world that dreams of freedom. The Council failed to protect the galaxy. Now, humanity will show true strength. Amy Brooks beside him held his gaze, her eyes shining with hope and fire. The first shots were fired, sharp beams cutting through the darkness. Explosions lit the space like distant fireworks, but the battle was brutal and close. Human ships moved fast, surprising the enemy with speed and tactics no one expected. Their weapons were not just machines. They carried the will of millions who refused to bow. Amidst the chaos, Jake remembered his grandfather's stories. Stories of humans fighting against all odds, never giving up. Now, those stories were alive, but the Zaphirians were strong, relentless. Ships were lost. Brave crews disappeared into the void. The Aurora shook from a direct hit, alarms ringing loud. Jake gritted his teeth. Hold the line, for Earth, for humanity. Suddenly, the tide shifted. A secret weapon hidden deep in the Aurora activated. A forgotten technology from Earth's ancient past. It sent a wave of energy that disabled many enemy ships, turning the battle. The Zaphirian flagship faltered. Confusion spread among their ranks. Jake seized the moment. Push forward! Strike hard! Human ships surged ahead, their courage shining, brighter than any weapon. At last, the Zaphirians began to retreat, their great war fleet breaking apart like shattered glass. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humans had not only survived, they had won. On the Aurora, Jake and Amy looked out at the stars, now calm and bright again. Did we just change history? Amy asked quietly. Jake smiled, tired but proud. We reminded the galaxy what it means to be human. Peace is not weakness. It's the strength to stand when the darkness comes. The Council of Elders sent envoys to negotiate. This time, they did not demand surrender. They asked for alliance. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not by bowing, but by standing tall. Jake thought of the future. A future where humans and aliens might work together, stronger because they remembered the price of peace. As the Aurora sailed on, the message was clear across the galaxy. The 2,000-year peace had ended. But a new era was beginning, one where humans would never again be underestimated.